Let's see if it's really on.
We outside in the field, second wind, first kill. Homicide flash shield, it's dark in the hills. We got shots in the hills, in the water on you spill.
Research the data, find the truth. I kick rappers out the booth without no boots. They bust no guns, won't parachute. Yeah, bunch of sweet dudes, we call them fruits. Mama boys, this grown man B.I. fitted on white tee, 501 Levi's. Still in the trenches with the team and the heaters. You better start weaving when we swing meat cleavers. They call me the butcher. What you want, center cut? Somewhere in the cut with a bitch in the guts. Dark bow guard, spit a dart so hard. Without a gold card, I can still go far. I'm older than the sun, plus the moon and the stars. The unseen hand pulling you out the cars. The blood on the pavement, you have no odds. Chambers of death in the name of Bogard. Second wind, first kills. Homicide flash shields. It's dark in the hills. You got sharks in the hills. In the water where the oil spills. Outside in the field. Second wind, first kills. Homicide flash shields. It's dark in the hills. You got sharks in the hills. In the water where the oil spills. I'm a monster, a maniac. Bonkers, my brain react. Neurons, electrons, ions, Decepticons. Step upon planets. On top of the universe standing. All watch my arms turn to cannons. The gargoyle leaping off Mars soil. Chickens give me egghead, suck it to his hard boil. Back rubs, palm oil, black doves, gargoyle, smack rubs to the stars loyal. I'm before you. One punch, break chest. Beast prayers under breath. Beast slayer unto death. Each slayer tongue of flex. Spartacus, martyr fist. Market this. Artist spit. Lava shit. Black king, black wings. Silver sword in my jeans. Kill them all. My regime. Fill them all with their team. M16 with their blood and finger paint through the mud. King Kong running through Hong Kong machine strong. Second wind, first kills. Homicide flash shields. It's dark in the hills. You got sharks in the hills. In the water where the oil spills. Outside in the field. Second wind, first kills. Homicide flash shields. It's dark in the hills. You got sharks in the hills. In the water where the oil spills. My Chrome 4/5, call me Eli the angel. Yeah, I be with cable. Bullets through your navel. Holy, thou shalt not eat from my table. Lords and statues, 4/5 catch you. Hell no, Lucifer. Demons get cast out. Revelation. Rebel nation. When I spit, I shoot, no hesitation. Mosey wears a tongue on my 4/5 lighter. Maccabee writer, Israelite, Obadiah. Scrolls and scriptures. Holes when I hit ya. Doctors can't stitch you up. The fan miss ya. Lord is my shepherd. Chrome 4/5 weapon. Reppin' for the heaven. That realm number 7. Wings up. Halo. No, it's not a game, yo. Lemon Kush Mango. Oh God, Lango. Second wind, first kills. Homicide flash shields. It's dark in the hills. You got sharks in the hills. In the water where the oil spills. Outside in the field. Second wind, first kills. Homicide flash shields. It's dark in the hills. You got sharks in the hills. In the water where the oil spills.
Outside in the field. Second wind, first kill. Homicide flash shield. It's dark in the hills. You got sharks in the hills. In the water where the oil spill. Outside in the field. Second wind, first kill. Homicide flash shield. It's dark in the hills. You got sharks in the hills. In the water where the oil spill.
I wasn't even on, my bad. 1 2 1 2. Should be good. All right, let me check the mic. 1 2 1 2. All right, we're in there. All right, so anyway, happy Friday, y'all. Happy Black History Month. Happy New Year, man. Still early in the new year. Still trying to get things, get the right perspective, because this is going to be a serious year for codification and delineation. It's going to be a serious year to really start balancing and fine-tuning and refining our lineage, our message, our strategy, our strength collectively. Because it's going to be election year, so like how we respond politically is going to be of importance. One thing I hate, though, let's get back to the Black History Month. I want to talk about a lot of different things, and even we'll open it up for those who might want to come in and join later. But one thing that I that irks me, and it always has, is when we give our power and it's like we give our creations, we give our struggle, we give the things that we've actually fought for and won, and we give the credit to other people. Like that's what I'm saying? Like, for instance, every MLK Day, we get those who obviously don't know the history, don't really know the context and the perspective, and don't respect the sacrifice, that'll start disrespecting MLK and saying they gave us MLK Day. They gave us. Like, really think about it. What have they really ever gave us? Nothing. Why would you give credit to them for giving us MLK Day as if we didn't make MLK Day pop? In case you don't know, we made MLK Day pop. We created that day. We celebrated that day. Finally, they recognized the day. In fact, they didn't even want to recognize it until in Arizona until the 90s. They didn't recognize MLK Day until the 90s in Arizona, and they only did it because they ended up losing their right to host the Super Bowl. So don't ever give them credit as if they created MLK Day. They didn't create that. We did that. They reluctantly recognized it. But for any of our holidays, we don't need them. Our holy days, we don't need them to validate it. If we choose to take the day, we take the day. It's what it is. So I've heard the same things when it comes to Black History Month. Oh, they gave us Black History Month and they did it in February because it's the shortest month. It's like you guys some of y'all want to just be defeated. Some of our people, I know if you watch this, if you're listening to this, if you're tapped in to the new Black media, you're probably not of this mind state, but I know that you've at least come across it. And maybe at one point you have said some things out of ignorance. But no, they did not give us Black History Month. Like, we should know that. That's basic history at this point. They didn't give us Black History Month. We're going to get into the history of Black History Month. We're going to get into something significant that happened today in Black history. We're going to get into some other things. But let's just be clear. They did not give us Black History Month. Matter of fact, let's get that right now. But we can't be, saying, and this is the same concept. If you understand, if you've been following what's happening with Tariq Nasheed and his new documentary, Microphone Check, that he's coming out with. And if you've been paying attention to how we can see they're clearly, right, trying to usurp the creation of hip hop. They're trying to take hip hop from us right in our face by giving credits to Jamaica, the Caribbeans, giving credit to Latinos. They've even tried to give credit to Jewish people for creating hip hop. So that same kind of concept, we willingly do that when certain things that we come up with that maybe people don't know the history. So to be cynical and to try to sound like they're just so black and revolutionary, they'll be on social media saying goofy stuff like they gave us, like, I ain't celebrating Black History Month. They gave us that. And nah, man, cut it out. That ain't how it went down. You got to give your people more credit than that. Let's go ahead and get into this. Let me see. Where's that, man? Is it even on there? Okay. Let's do it like this then. So let's get some perspective and some truth to what's really going down with Black History Month. Because there's really nothing wrong with celebrating. As much as some people might think it's superficial, it's not. celebrating our own holy days and our own culture and our history not only keeps it alive at a time where we know with this critical race theory and this whitewashing that we're seeing right in front of us happen in real time. They're trying to write out the history in the books of slavery. They try to wipe out any of our accomplishments. Like out of all the things we invented, all those things are going to fall to the wayside if we don't keep that alive, if we don't continue to document and share and pass the tradition and the history and archive it. That's another reason why it's important for institutions like museums. But we have to keep this alive, because at a time where they're going out of their way to erase our history, to rewrite our history, to have people who aren't really us represent us. Now we got to be the ones that continue this legacy. That's what the New Black Media is about. So check this out. Just to get perspective on Black History Month, just so you'll have this ammunition if you don't already, we're going to get into how Black History Month came to be. So on February 7th, 1926, that's 100 years ago, Carter G. Woodson initiated the first celebration of Negro History Week, which led to Black History Month to extend and deepen the study and scholarship on African American history all year long. Further below is an essay on the history and purpose of the commemoration, including why Woodson chose February. So it wasn't chosen for us. It's not because it's the shortest month of the year. Like just understand how on code this brother had to be to make sure how much of a visionary he would be to understand that, hey, we need to bring this to the forefront more. We need to continue to celebrate this. We need to know our history. This was 100 years ago. He's saying this. So the history of the 100 years before him would have been chattel slavery, how we got free, how we freed ourselves through conflicts, through war. The reconstruction, like all those different things would have been that much closer to him, that he understood had to be preserved for the lessons in it, for the legacy. And who knows how far they really could have went back historically. But the point is, this is the visionary. This is like someone who had to do this before there was internet. Like this is why we have to make sure that we respect the sacrifice of our ancestors and really put it in real perspective, like understand what it would really take at that time to do what they did. And the fact that they did it so big, they did it so thorough, that 100 years later, we're speaking about this. We know this. We're still teaching this. This is before they couldn't put it on the internet. He couldn't post it on Facebook. Yo, this is what we're going to do. Everybody like and share this. They couldn't do that. They had to be in person, face to face. They had to be in the streets. They had to be in the fields with it. They had to be in the trenches with it. That's why we salute our ancestors. They did more with less. They had to be codified. There was no illusion of the inclusion. Everybody knew what it was. Anyway, let's keep going. Further below is, and that's where I saw that part. The story of Claudette. Notice it. The story of Claudette Colvin is one of many examples of the impact of Negro History Week. She refused to move on the Montgomery bus March 2nd, 1955, inspired by the lessons in February at her school. I could not move, she said. So I think this is they're saying Claudette Colvin. I wonder if that's the one that the original Rosa Parks, because really Rosa Parks was kind of capped. It was kind of staged. It was kind of they kind of did that to make it was a strategy, basically. I don't want to undermine that, but it was a strategy. That's why they make sure they used her rather than, I think, Claudette Colvin. Anyway, but here's a quote from her. She said, "I could not move because history had me glued to my seat. I felt like Sojourner Truth's hands were pushing me down on one shoulder." Salute the Sojourner Truth. If you don't know about her, you need to learn. "And Harriet Tubman's hands were pushing down on me on another shoulder, and I could not move. For more on Woodson, read Fugitive Pedagogy, whatever. Carter G. Woodson in the Arts of Black Teaching. Visit Buzzy Bob. Let's continue. Carter G. Woodson chose February. Check this out. It wasn't because it's the shortest month. Carter G. Woodson chose February for Negro History Week for reasons of tradition and reform. It is commonly said that Woodson selected February to encompass the birthdays of two great Americans who played a prominent role in reshaping Black history, namely Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, whose birthdays are the 12th and the 14th, respectively. More importantly, he chose them for reasons of tradition. Since Lincoln's assassination in 1865, the Black community, along with other Republicans, at that time we were more riding with the Republicans, had been celebrating the fallen President Lincoln, the fallen president's birthday. And since the late 1890s, the Black communities across the country had been celebrating Douglas's birthdays. So around the time that Black History Week was created was also around the time where Frederick Douglass's birthday was commonly being celebrated by us at those times. So well aware of the pre-existing celebrations, Woodson built Negro History Week around traditional days of commemorating the Black past. He was asking the public to extend their study of Black history, not to create a new tradition. In doing so, he increased his chances for success. Yet Woodson was up to something more than building on tradition. Without saying so, he aimed to reform it from the study of two great men to a great race. Though he admired both men, Woodson had never been fond of the celebrations held in their honor. He railed against the ignorant spellbinders who addressed large convivial gatherings and displayed their lack of knowledge about the men and their contributions to history. So in other words, he was calling Kaepernick. He was calling Kaepernick. He was like, yo, he was like, I love it. Because basically what he was saying is like, yo, just, y'all sell, y'all, it's on you. It ain't in you. Y'all don't really know this. Because people was probably monetizing it, right? They was probably just getting up there, putting themselves in positions of leadership to ignorant people. Because remember, we didn't have Google back then. So if you couldn't read or you didn't have money for books, you could say anything and people may not know unless there was a oral tradition of keeping that information. So he's saying, look, y'all getting up on here, having these big celebrations, rallies and whatnot, these gatherings, but you're displaying your lack of knowledge about them. And he knew the real history, and he was sick of people not knowing the history, but doing what so many people do today and just start babbling pseudo shit. And people who didn't have access to the tools that we have access with. I mean, so there's a reason, there's an excuse for them back then who may have been manipulated because they didn't have access to the knowledge and they just trusted someone that may have had charismatic and articulate skills. Ain't no excuse for us. So he's seen that back then. He said, more importantly, Woodson believed that the history was made by the people, not simply or primarily by great men. So he understood, the codification, how important it was for us all to be codified and in a decentralized manner, educated. He envisioned the study and celebration of the Negro as a race, not simply as the producers of a great man. And Lincoln, however great, had not freed the slaves. The Union Army, including hundreds of thousands of Black soldiers and sailors, had done that. Look, man, this is over 100 years ago. This is about 100 years ago. Don't ever let anyone try to fool you that out of the kindness of their heart, white Northerners freed, went to war to free us. Let's go ahead and put that in perspective. Because I've actually seen different people speaking about this on YouTube, like recently, about what really went down the Civil War. And let's just keep it real. Here's really what happened. I'm gonna just this is a summary. So the South was getting very, very rich. Very, very rich off the exploit of black labor and black genius. Because we weren't just doing like laborious tasks. We was actually doing engineering tasks. We was actually creating. Our intellectual property was just as valuable. So the South was getting extremely rich. See, there was a deal between the North and the South, and don't get it twisted. The North also had slaves. They didn't necessarily have as much like agricultural slavery going on, but they did have slaves. Sojourner Truth was from New York, somewhere up there. But anyway, so up until the Industrial Revolution, the North and the South kind of had a good thing going. The raw materials were produced in the South. They were shipped up north to be refined. Blah, 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 blah. Everybody's eating. But as the Industrial Revolution started to come into play, and as you know, other nations globally in Europe, Asia, or whatnot, also had an Industrial Revolution, mechanization, whatever. Don't worry about that. So, but as that happened, all of a sudden now they could ship their raw materials to France. They didn't have to ship it up north. They could ship it to France, make more money. England, Spain, China. They didn't need to go to the north to have their raw materials refined anymore. So they started doing that. They started considering those options. The North is like, yo, man, we can't compete. We can't compete with labor because you guys got free labor. You guys are making us money and getting powerful. We're up here starving now because you ain't doing business with us like you used to. We supposed to be brothers. And the South was like, nigga, we ain't brothers. Fuck what you're talking about. We don't really need y'all. In fact, so then the North was like, yo, we need to abolish slavery. Not because they thought that we were equal to them, not because out of the kindness of their heart, because remember, slavery went on for hundreds of years, just because it was messing up the North's money. How can you get a job when there's people who own slaves that can get free labor? The jobs are drying up because now instead of refining the raw materials in the North, they're exporting it internationally. So like, yo, we got to end this slavery thing. It's not good for the economics anymore for us. And the South's like, you know what? We don't even want to be part of the Union anymore. Fuck what you're talking about. We're going to do our own thing. We're going to be the Confederate Southern, whatever. That's what the war was about. The war was about the South trying to do their own thing. The North only wanted to end slavery not because of morality, but because of economics. And the South was mopping the North up until Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, and others campaigned to Abraham Lincoln to allow black soldiers to fight. And then they got in the fight. Harriet Tubman was also a spy. She would do recon missions and bomb supply chains and stuff like that. She's actually the first woman to ever conduct her own campaign in a military battle in the United States, probably in modern history. Not the first black woman, the first woman. So the South naturally was whooping the North's ass until they allowed our ancestors to fight the war. That's what changed the tides. As a matter of fact, I could tell you the day. I believe it was September 7th, 1863, when a bunch of black soldiers were bogged down. And then they said, fuck it. Change the tide that day. Anyway, let's continue. Okay, hold up. Let's go ahead and get this, man. Okay, here we go. The Union Army, including, we already said that part. The Union Army. So they knew then, you know what I'm saying? Even back then, they knew how we really got free. And then even leading up to that, maintaining slavery was harder and harder because there were so many rebellions going on. Not only just people, going up north, leaving their plantations, running away, but also actual military conflicts. We know about the Gullah Geechee or the Seminole Wars or the Negro Wars, as it was called commonly back then. We know about the Nat Turner, all these different rebellions. countless rebellions that we've never heard of. Like for every one document, I believe there's like a few hundred documented rebellions. Trust me, there's probably 10 more. There's probably different things. Remember, there was no newspapers. There might have been newspapers. There was no TV. There was no news. There was no internet. You don't know about the nigga who just had enough and snapped in some small little town down in Alabama in the boonies and just murked everybody and left. You don't know about them. They might not be documented, but this was happening. It became troublesome to some degree. But anyway, so where are we at? The Union Army, including hundreds of thousands of black soldiers and sailors, had done that in regards to liberating ourselves. Rather than focusing on two men, the black community, he believed, should focus on the countless black men and women who had contributed to the advance of human civilization. From the beginning, Woodson was overwhelmed by the response of his call. Negro History Week appeared across the country in schools and before the public. In the 1920s, over 100 years ago, was a decade of the new Negro, a name given to the post-World War generation because of its rising racial pride and consciousness. Urbanization and industrialization had brought over 1 million African Americans from the rural South into big cities of the nation. The expanding black middle class became participants in and consumers of black literature and culture. Black history clubs sprang up. Teachers demanded materials to instruct their pupils, and progressive whites stepped forward and endorsed the efforts. We're talking about like Father Divine, talking about the budding years just before Elijah Muhammad. Yeah. Woodson and the Association for the Study of African American Life and History scrambled to meet the demand. They set a theme for the annual celebration and provided study materials, pictures, lessons, and teachers, plays for historical performances, and posters of important dates and people. Provision with a steady flow of knowledge, high schools in progressive communities formed Negro history clubs to serve the desire of history buffs to participate in the re-education of black folks and the nation. ASALH formed branches that stretched from coast to coast. In 1937, at the urging of Mary McLeod Bethune, Woodson established the Negro History Bulletin, which focused on the annual theme. As black populations grew, mayors issued Negro history proclamations, and in cities like Syracuse, upstate New York, progressive whites joined Negro History Week with National Brotherhood Week. Like most ideas that resonate with the spirit of the times, Negro History Week proved to be more dynamic than Woodson or the ASALH could control. By the 1930s, Woodson complained about the intellectual charlatans, black and white, popping up everywhere, seeking to take advantage of the public interest in black history. So he's saying they're trying to really exploit the culture. That's what he's saying. This was a problem in the 1930s. So it ain't no wonder we still got that as a problem right now. The only difference is right now we should know better. Right now we have the resources and we should be able to have the discernment. Right now we could check people's background and see like what you really been about, what you really on. We could check the truthfulness or pseudoness of what they're teaching. And we could just identify in real time if there's really any progress or any materialization or tangible benefits or progress. See, this is why delineating is so important. This is why right now we're delineating at a rapid pace. It ain't just about delineating from what we call tethers. Outside people that will, come in and undermine us. It ain't just about them. It ain't just about the tethers it's also about those within our own lineage. It's about delineating politically. Like, I'm glad that our people are starting to pull away from the Democratic plantation, as some people call it. I'm glad that we ain't just blindly giving our votes and our energy to Democrats no matter what. But just because we're pulling back from that blind support doesn't mean that we're supposed to just jump on the other side of the game. That don't mean we just now blindly give ourselves to Republicans just because they're not Democrats. No, now we evaluate, and now we go ahead and let them bid for our participation in their political shenanigans. We need to hear what's really in it for us. Not student loan forgiveness, which is cool. That's cool, but that's not specifically for us. So we need stuff that's specifically for us because they went out of their way to design detriments specifically for us. All right. So anyway, he was calling out the cap. He was calling out the charlatans, which is something that we do today. Ain't that right? That's a tradition that we must continue. He warned teachers not to invite speakers who had less knowledge than the students themselves. Increasingly, publishing houses that had previously ignored Black topics and authors rushed to put books on the market in the schools. Instant experts appeared everywhere, and non-scholarly works appeared from mushroom presses. In other words, the pseudo shit started popping off. Everybody was vying for an opportunity to monetize our rising consciousness, our thirst for knowledge and history and our culture. People tried to monetize it. And there's nothing wrong with monetizing the culture when it's done by the right people for the right purpose, the right way. But he's just saying everybody was popping up. Just pseudo teachers just popping out of nowhere. And we see a lot of that today. So in America, nothing popular escapes their commercialization or eventual trivialization. And so Woodson, the constant reformer, had his hands full in promoting celebrations worthy of the people who had made the history. He wanted to make sure that what we were doing was thorough. That's what the new Black media is. The new Black media is the real keepers and pushers of the culture and of the progress for our people. That's what it is. It ain't that mainstream when they put these buffers in front of us, these boule, Roland Martins, or even the ones that come from seemingly the grassroots, these cats that just be talking that pseudo babble, ain't really on nothing. Find ways to undermine what we're doing. Don't really have no receipts of doing real things. Have shady backgrounds. Just raising money for decades for the same damn thing that never materializes. Not a new Black media gives you that thorough information because it's not sponsored by corporations, bars. It's sponsored by the people. It's done. The difference is, see, the new Black media will allow people to challenge what's being said. That's how you know it's not agenda. Because we'll entertain people who don't agree. We will run the risk in real time. You see it all the time in the new Black media. We'll run the risk in real time of somebody challenging what we're saying and challenging if we have the integrity to listen to what's being said. And if it makes more sense, if it's something that should be considered, and we got to change our position, or we got to at least consider that. Because we're really trying to solve these problems for real. We're not just trying to push some certain agenda that was sponsored by somebody else. So that means we have to have these intellectual debates. It means we have to cover the things that ain't going to be covered. We have to show what mainstream ain't going to show. We have to preserve what's really in our best interests, not by what was propped up in front of us to be influenced by, sponsored by Republicans or Democrats or corporations or whatever. We got to get the shit popping for real on the grassroots, not AstroTurf. AstroTurf is when they make it up like it, and it's really from the top down. Real change don't happen from the top down. People at the top don't go out of their way to make sure that the playing field is even so that other people can catch up to them. Real change always comes from the grassroots. Nothing has been given to us. Nothing. Even within the last 5 years or so, when we've been producing more justice for police that have been conducting themselves like terrorists in our communities, you could think of several different officers who only got charged because of the ruckus that we made on the grassroots. Amber Geiger would have walked. If we didn't tear up shit, Derek Chauvin probably would have walked. Everything we get, we earn, we fight for, and it comes from the grassroots. So part of that delineation is delineating from these house niggas, from these fake niggas, from these charlatans. In the same way Carter G. Woodson in 1930 was doing so. That's the same tradition that we keep. This is the first time I read this. I only skimmed this before I started this. I mean, I already knew a little bit of Carter G, but yeah, like you understand, like dates may change, but the spirit don't change. That's why we have to stay tapped into who we really are. We delineate not just from tethers, not just from, but we have to delineate from those within our own lineage who don't mean us no good. We have to refine and purge the weak breeds. The COINTEL niggas. The niggas who ain't really don't mean no harm, but they just ain't thorough enough because they ain't studying enough, and they just don't they ain't worked it out yet. Let me continue, man. Well before his death, 1950, Woodson believed that the weekly celebrations, not the study or celebration of Black history, would eventually come to an end. In fact, Woodson never viewed Black history as a 1 week affair. He pressed for schools to use Negro History Week to demonstrate what students learned all year. So he understood the importance of properly being educated, man. This is over 100 years ago. Salute that. Let's get some, let me see this. Yo, what up? B1, man. B1. We got Jesse Paris, aka Shade Nkrumah, in the building. All right, let's go. Okay, check this out. This is actually on this day, February 2nd. It's a significant Black history for this day, right? Can you see that? Let me see if you can see that. Right? There we go. All right. So anyway, Alfred L. Crawley, maybe, patents the ice cream scoop. Man, we've been doing this, man. Now I'm hearing, and I don't know exactly, but I've heard that modern ice cream as we know it was also created by a foundational Black American, and I could believe that. I mean, especially if we got this brother making the ice cream scoop in 1897. So while working in Pittsburgh as a porter, Alfred L. Crawley noticed that the popular treat ice cream was difficult to dispense. It stuck to spoons and ladies and usually required 2 hands and at least 2 implements to serve. Crawley invented the mechanical device known as the ice cream scoop and applied for a patent on February 2nd, 1897. The 30-year-old was granted U.S. patent. I mean, we just be doing things, man. 1897, that's like a generation out of slavery. If he was 30, matter of fact, he was born just 2 years after slavery. He was born, I mean, this is like, come on, man, this is the genius of us. This is what we have to continue to teach, because all this stuff is going to get lost in the sauce. They're trying to make it so that our children and their children believe that slavery was really just immigrant. What do they call it? They called it, what do you call that? Involuntary servitude or something like that. They're trying to soften that, which will kill our reparations claims. That's why we have to continue to push for reparations. We got to push for that right now. We're going to get into that in a minute, though. Let's get into some more Black history, man. Let's go ahead and do this.
We reshape the world.
You're the best special forces NATO has to offer.
If you've ever answered the call of duty, or saved Princess Peach, or just eaten Blinky, Inky, and Pinky, you probably owe a debt of gratitude to Jerry Lawson, who was instrumental in the development of 3 major technological innovations that would change the gaming industry forever: the game cartridge, the pause button, and the digital joystick. Raised in Queens, Lawson was a child prodigy in electronics, operating his own ham radio station by age 13. And by 1968, Jerry Lawson would take his talents to what would become Silicon Valley, where he would become a giant in the gaming industry. Standing at 6'6", Lawson was literally almost a giant over most of his peers at that. But Lawson had a habit of bucking trends. In an industry comprised largely of white, college graduate technophiles, he was one of the only black engineers in the industry. And while he did attend both Queens College and City College for a time, he never received a degree. Always the prodigy, Lawson was self-taught. At the time, the few home video game systems of the early 70s were pre-programmed. They came with a few games baked into the hardware, and that was that. But as an engineer at Fairchild Camera and Instrument, Lawson and his team had the eureka moment, developing a console that allowed you to play unlimited games, just with the swap of a cartridge. The Fairchild Channel F in 1976. While we take changing games now for granted, it was revolutionary at the time. As was its rather handy hold mechanism, the first pause button, and the first digital joystick with 8 directions at your control.
Plug in a new video cart and change the fun. Play tic-tac-toe, shooting gallery, or just doodle. Switch video carts and play Desert Fox. Channel F, the one with all the fun.
Sadly, the direction of the Fairchild Company itself was less fortunate, and in 1977, they were eclipsed by the Atari 2600.
Man, check that out, man. If you're my age, you remember Atari. I don't remember Channel F. I had no idea that innovation of technology was us. I loved games when I was young. I like games now. The concept of putting the game data on a cartridge, which now they put it in CD disc or download form, but the idea of having a separate, you know what I'm saying, they were built into the games at the time. The joystick, the pause button, the game cartridge, us, we did that.
Which would become the standard bearer of the video game boom of the late 70s and early 80s, but not without taking a cue from the innovations of Jerry Lawson and the Channel F.
And then, like always, like so many times before, our innovations are glossed over, usurped, whitewashed, taken from us, used without credit. You know, basically Atari came through, they probably had more paper. They took the concept, stole the sauce, repackaged it, and now we ain't ever even heard of dude until recently. If that happened in the 80s and the 70s, you don't think that happened in the 1800s? In the early 1900s? Like if we like just the things that we know we created, all the inventions that we know we created, more than we could name, but I guarantee you do not go through a whole day without utilizing at least 10 inventions or things that we improved on. Every day, your refrigerator, stoplights, cell phone, we're done. Computer, we either created the technology it takes to run, or we innovated in it on some kind of way. The lights, video games.
With the video game crash of the mid-'80s, Lawson had largely gotten out of the industry. And it wouldn't be until this last decade that his accomplishments began to become more celebrated. In a bittersweet finale, Lawson would die just a month after finally being honored as an industry pioneer by the International Game Developers Association. But in the years since, his posthumous reputation would only grow. An Xbox Gaming Hero Award at the Independent Games Festival, a Netflix documentary feature, and now, just this year, the establishment of the Gerald A. Lawson Endowment at the University of Southern California to fund Black and American Indian students' careers in gaming, ensuring that his legacy lives.
Okay, so of course they always got a couple, Black and something else. That's an interesting coupling, though, Black and Native. That's almost not as disrespectful, but, this is why we got to give our people their flowers. This is why we have to recognize our genius. This is why delineation is important. Because nobody could stand on the type of history that we could stand on. Nobody. This is why we have to know our history, preserve our history, so that other people can't usurp it. That's why in real time we do have to give our flowers. We can't just wait till it's too late till they're gone. But this is why we also keep them legacies alive, though. Just knowing this, just this being common knowledge empowers future generations, empowers us to realize what we could do, realize the genius that we can tap into. Sometimes with all this propaganda, all this social media, all this, distractions, we lose that. We lose that connection to that. That's why holidays are important. That's why having our own days that we revere, regardless if anybody else recognizes them, is important. And just like you've seen Carter G. Woodson speaking about how people are monetizing as charlatans our culture, basically, he was saying, culture vultures. There's nothing wrong with monetizing what we do, as long as it's thoroughly grounded and done by us in the right spirit. Yes, we should be monetizing holidays. We should be celebrating significant days, Juneteenth, in which where we gather with ourselves and we reflect on history, where we do business with each other. We create the products and services that we utilize on our holidays. It's a good way to circulate that money, to keep that money aggregating in our communities, to empower ourselves. That's what a lot of these holidays are anyway. They're money grabs. Well, we should be ahead of the curve and creating our own days that mean something to us, where we can do business with each other, where we can congregate, network, build, harmonize, codify, strategize, and strengthen ourselves. That's one of the reasons why it irritates me when some of these charlatans, because that's what they really are, some of these cats capping on the internet, acting like they're about something that they really ain't about. And they'll try to undermine anytime, like, we're happy about something. We're going to celebrate Black History Month. We're going to celebrate Juneteenth. We're going to celebrate whatever it is that we're revering or celebrating or acknowledging. There's always somebody that's just too revolutionary to celebrate with us. Well, MLK wasn't, he was soft, man. I don't respect him. Well, Juneteenth, we ain't really afraid. Just because they made it a holiday, now we could, no. Like you'd never see this from other groups. You would never see, like, the Jewish community undermining something that was set aside for them and their people. That you'd never hear them saying that, oh, I'm too Jewish to celebrate Rosh Hashanah. You'd never hear no goofy shit like that. Even if they didn't create it, they don't care. They'll still let it go down because it's only empowering them. It's showing reverence for them and their culture. They're not going to undermine that. So when we say we're delineating, we got to delineate from these cats that be on that pseudo bullshit, who ain't really on nothing. But they'll try to out-revolutionize everybody, but they ain't really doing shit. They ain't got no receipts for doing things in the community. They ain't got no receipts for being a part or supporting things that's really progressive for our people. What else we got? What else is popping? So yeah, this reparations, man. And here's another reason why controlling our narrative is important. Having our own voice, our own unapologetic, uncut, straight up truth bombs. B1 truth bombs. Our collective voice. Because when we speak about the new black media, we're not just talking about those who have like official platforms, who will go live and have different, platforms of more sophisticated media apparatuses. It's all of us. It's people being tapped in, participating in the experience. People retweeting and sharing. People, that's really on this. That's tapped in. That's taking that information and really utilizing it and putting it in the community. That's really using it to form, their strategies and how they move, what they're involved in their communities. All of that. All of that's the new black media. And what we do in the grassroots resonates, man. Let me show you something. Should I show you this one first? First, let's see this right here, man. Let's look at this cat. We talking about reparations real quick, right? You see, the message is getting out when they can't help but cover it in the political world and on mainstream media. That people are afraid and feeling threatened by the progress being made, because remember, there ain't really been no progress for hundreds of years until the last 5-10 years. Because remember, we didn't really have the same apparatuses to make it a movement like we do now with social media and technology. So they're running all this interference. We got all these tethers tapping in on the COINTELPRO side of the game. We got these hand-picked Negroes that call themselves colored people in 2024 running interference. I know y'all saw that, Black Alpha Network, South Carolina, the NAACP. I already did the video on that one. But now we even got this. Check this out. Peep this.
Question in all of this is that nobody knows who's going to pay for it. They don't know final numbers. They don't know very much about these reparations. And yet these panels in San Francisco and statewide keep coming forward saying, we need all this money to go to these people and we need it now.
Yeah, it's a big problem. First off, psychologically, we know that giving people massive amounts of money generally doesn't work out very well for the people that are getting the money. But in this,
listen to this reverse psychology, mind fuckery. Giving money to people, it doesn't usually work out for the people that's getting the money. If we give these niggers money, it's gonna be detrimental. It's gonna be bad for them if we give them money. They don't say that about themselves. They don't say that about the trillions that they gave the corporations during the pandemic. They don't say that about the billions that they gave to Ukraine, the billions that they're giving to Israel, the hundreds of millions and billions that they're giving to these immigrants. They ain't saying about the money that they gave to the Japanese, to the red Native Americans. No, they only use these bullshit ass talking points when it's talking about us getting money. All of a sudden, giving money to people is the worst thing you can do. I mean, it's usually bad when you give people money. It usually makes their life worse. What? All right.
this case, it's going to stoke racial tensions. It's going to stoke, in this case, it's going to stoke massive amounts of money. Generally doesn't work out very well for the people that are getting the money. Psychologically, we know giving.
Show me when giving people massive amounts of money was worse for them. Give me an example. Give me an example of a mass of a people collectively receiving large amounts of money to better themselves, especially when it came for justice, when it's a debt owed. When has paying people back the debt you owe them have been a negative experience for those who are being recompensated for the debt owed to them? Show me an example of that not being an empowering thing, of that being actually worse for them. But he's going to keep on going, though. Check this out.
People, massive amounts of money generally doesn't work out very well for the people that are getting the money.
Really?
But in this case, it's going to stoke racial tensions. It's going to stoke racial jealousy. One group being pitted against another group. I imagine that's going to increase violence.
So now he's trying to scare niggas. I'm with the shits. I mean, I like that honesty right there. But he's really saying, like, hey, white people are going to get jealous. They're going to get mad. They don't want to see us touching some real money and having the power to do some real things collectively. They don't mind a one-off here and there, entertainer here and there, but collectively, us actually being able to close that wealth gap and then to really have to compete on a more equal terms with us will enrage them. Them having that advantage taken away from them will enrage them. And jealousy will form and violence will happen, is what he's saying. And I'm saying I'm with the shits. I think collectively we are with the shits. All that means is don't waste all that reparations money, y'all. All that means is strap up, just stay ready, stay dangerous. That's all that really means. Because believe me, they ain't coming for us when we're codified and not soft targets. So they always have that argument about, oh yeah, but if we give even some of our own people, if we get that money, we're just gonna give it right back to them. We're just gonna waste it and spend it. Okay, speak for yourself. Speak for yourself. Some of us is gonna go up on some land. Some of us are gonna create businesses, create industries, create communities. Listen, right out of slavery, we built like 100 cities. We still have like 20 black towns in Oklahoma alone. At least we have a dozen. We have a dozen guaranteed, but we have about at least 20 nationwide black towns right now. They ain't doing too well, but they exist. Now imagine a massive reparations campaign where we all get broken off. They just bought a town outside of Atlanta like a couple years ago. Black folks incorporated a town down there. So imagine all of us getting a proper bag. I don't know about you, but I know a few conscious individuals who know what time it is, who are on code, who understand the power of collectively putting some bags together and, acquiring land. I know people who have the skills to build infrastructure. I know people who got business ideas, global ideas, big ideas, things that they're already doing on a smaller scale that could be scaled up with the proper bag. Yeah, I know some niggas that will fuck off that money and buy some cars and jewels and trick it off. Those niggas exist too. But that's their business if they want to do that. Collectively, we get strengthened. Imagine what we're doing right now. The things that we've made happen right now. The influence politically we've had. The ability to create and preserve our own history. And to start trends and create trends and maintain businesses. Imagine that on steroids. That's what they're afraid of. They know what's going to happen. Black Wall Street's going to get popping in every city, along with other communities being created out of property being acquired. More black towns is going to pop up. And we're going to learn from our mistakes and make sure that we can protect anything we build. So if they want to get rowdy, we can get rowdy with it. We with the shits. They're trying every technique, every tactic is on the table to thwart our reparations movement. So when I'm watching these, like listening to these Tariq Twitter spaces and these other Twitter spaces, and I'm hearing people coming in trolling and white supremacist cats talking about how we ain't never going to get it, and these tethers, we ain't never going to get it. Obviously, there's a real fear of the possibility of this happening. If Fox News is running interference and trying to stoke fear and jealousy towards the reparations movement, nobody was talking about reparations before us. The black politicians in Congress wasn't talking about no damn reparations. The Roland Martins and all the other ones that they put in front of us, the Don Lemons, whoever they rubber stamp on these mainstream media platforms, they weren't talking about no reparations. The grassroots brought this reparation conversation to the point where they have to talk about it. They have to acknowledge it. They have to run interference, even on a national syndicated television news network. That's us they're responding to with shit like this. We pushed it to this level of conversation. We still got some fine tuning we got to do as far as our strategy, as far, you know what I'm saying, as far as, you know, really working out the details. But to tell you the truth, it ain't really that difficult. It's really not. It really ain't. They know who we are. They know that they owe. Get a number. They could direct deposit. They could, you know what I'm saying? They could send paper checks. They could do whatever. They could send Bitcoin. I don't give a damn. I'll take mine in Bitcoin. They can make it happen just as surely as they can always pay off other cats, sprinkle other communities. They could do it. It's not like don't get people into these big conversations like we have to do all this extra paperwork and we can't do it until we change our status to this and that. And nah, it ain't that hard. They know who we are. We could prove who we are. They know they owe. We can come up with a number. A lot of the corporations that really waxed rich from the enslavement of our people are still operational today. Some of these banks were established during slavery. Some of these insurance companies, AIG and all that, yeah, they was established insuring slaves. Some of these clothing manufacturers, yeah, they're still around right now. Railroad companies, they're still around right now. They owe.
It's going to take care of it's going to hurt the free market, you know, the housing costs.
It's going to hurt the free market and the housing costs.
Everything is going to be turned upside down by
everything's going to be turned upside down if niggas get money. I mean, look at this dude, man. Like, just the fear, the like, this is just how fearful they are of us just getting money. Just the idea that niggas is going to get some money that's owed to them. Got these niggas shook. Everything's gonna be turned around. It's gonna be upside down. If these Negroids get money, what does that mean for us and our privilege? I mean, remember what they did in Black Wall Street when we were starving in the Great Depression, and their towns were still thriving. They'll be better than us. This is a real fear that they have. Just the idea. Because they don't do this for anybody else. You don't see them speaking this recklessly when it's time to chip off Israel for shit that the United States had nothing to do with. They're not even mad about sending money to a whole different country on the other side of the world, Ukraine. They don't care about that's fine with them. But money that will, because he's saying that it's going to make the prices go down and it's going to kill the markets and How? How? They're giving all these billions to these immigrants who send the money back home. They're sending money out of the country overseas by the billions to fund wars and things that have nothing to do with us. Any money given to us, we're going to spend it here. It's going to stimulate the economy, literally. Yeah, all that stuff you're saying that we're going to recklessly buy because we don't have enough discipline and financial responsibility, that's just putting it back in your economy. Why are you tripping? See, if they really thought that's all we were going to do with it, they would have gave it to us. They would have been gave it to us. They gave trillions of dollars the last stimulus package under Trump. $8 trillion. Like 90% of that went to rich corporations. That little 1,200 that some of us got, that ain't shit. They was giving these corporations and these banks tens of millions and hundreds of millions. They did the same thing under Obama, the same thing under Bush. See, they don't mind doing that. They'll take all this money and give it to corporations that don't need it, that don't take that money and hire people. The banks didn't take that money and start giving out loans. The problem is giving it to us. That's when everything goes awry. When niggas start getting money, that's when there's a problem. Listen to these dudes, man.
This, I mean, that's assuming that the state can really make good on its promise and actually pay us another group. I imagine that's going to increase violence. It's going to
now.
Yeah, it's a big problem. You know, first off, psychologically, we know that giving people massive amounts of money generally doesn't work out very well for the people that are getting the money.
So he started it off with, he's trying to appeal to our greater senses, black people. Listen, guys. I mean, usually if we give you a lot of money, it's probably not going to work out for you guys. Let's listen to that again. Let's hear how he worded it. How did he word that?
Generally doesn't work out very well for the people that are getting the money.
It doesn't work out. Generally speaking, it doesn't work out well. He didn't cite any sources or anything, but he just believe him. But just believe me, niggers. If we give you all this money, it's generally not going to work out for you guys. It's going to be bad. You guys are just going to spend it on fried chicken and Jerry Curl juice, Cadillacs, and it's not going to work out. You're going to be smoking crack and drinking 40s. It's not gonna work out for you guys. Like, yo, we're gonna do whatever the fuck we want to do with it. It's our money. You owe the money. How is it not gonna work out? Okay.
Giving people massive amounts of money generally doesn't work out very well for the people that are getting the money.
Okay.
But in this case, it's going to stoke racial tensions. It's going to stoke racial jealousy. One group being pitted against another group. I imagine that's going to increase violence. It
might increase violence. But seeing that we're already being targeted, hate crimes against us is greater by far than anyone else. Police violence against us always been out of control. I mean, what we've seen happen in New York, Buffalo, and on the train. Obviously, there's already violence. People are already violent against us. All the reparations would do, all the massive amount of money that we are owed would do, was give us the ability to defend ourselves better. Right? That's the real problem. Because as we've seen in Alabama, we can have our own back and stop violence against our people. Right? So do what you're going to do, but just cut the check. You ain't going to scare us out of it. You ain't going to scare us from wanting it. Just cut the check. We with the shits.
It's going to take care of it's going to hurt the free market.
It's going to hurt the free market. Damn. So the free market is what he's saying by default is the free market works best when black people don't have money. Right? It's going to hurt the free market. Us getting reparations is going to hurt the free market. How? It's going to stimulate the market. Businesses are going to grow and be developed. Oh, you mean because we're not going to be dependent on products and services that you guys supply? Is that what it is? Oh, because now we'll create our own whole industries and not have to rely. Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. I get it.
Costs, everything is going to be turned upside down by this. I mean, that's assuming that the state can really make
Everything's going to be turned upside down. So the people on the upside are going to be turned down. Is that what you're saying? Everything will be turned upside down. All of a sudden, we won't need you. All of a sudden, the industries that rely on us being consumers will start to change when we become producers. See, let's talk about Pan-Africanism real quick. I was participating on this little whatever Facebook post about Pan-Africanism, and this dude was trying to. His whole thing was he was trying to shame us into maintaining the Pan-African ideology by invoking the name of Malcolm X, claiming that Malcolm X was a Pan-African, which is true. It is true. Malcolm X was a Pan-Africanist. He was also a black nationalist, though. So he understood the importance. A black nationalist is like what understanding the not just the lineage of FBA, but our ideology, code, right? Meaning that a black nationalist means that, you understand that we got to do for us. We have to have our own national identity and agenda. Pan-Africanist means that we want to link with others globally that look like us. In concept, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is that we was rocking the Pan-Africanists for over 100 years. It's 2024 right now. In 1924, the Pan-African ideology existed, and we were doing the heavy lifting on it. Now, don't get me wrong. There was times where Africa was tapping in. That's why you see Ghana with the red, black, and green colors, inspired by FBA Pan-Africanists that at the time was endorsing Marcus Garvey, because in Jamaica, they weren't. See, Pan-Africanism would be beautiful, but it can't work if we're the only ones that's reaching out, trying to make it work. 100 years. Now, of course, we know in the 60s, 70s, there was some interference being ran because, especially when they started flooding the zone with a bunch of tethers who they made sure that they only let the right ones in. But regardless, it ain't worked because no one else has been participating. Because if the brothers and sisters on the continent, in the Caribbean, in South America, was really tapped into that Pan-Africanist mentality and really trying to push that with us, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in right now. Globally, we are the majority. If they were collectively working with us, we would not be in this position right now. Because we would have already linked the kind of deals that would have made us we'd all be balling out of control. We would all be economically set. We'd be good. And really, when you really put it in real perspective, and you understand, it's because now that we're saying this ain't working, y'all ain't trying to do it. We Africans. And then they was looking at us like, no, you're not African. You're not one of us. You're not this and that. Now we're saying, okay, you're right. Now they want to get mad about it. But if they was really sticking to the script, now they want to act like they're all about Pan-Africanism. Now that we're saying, okay, cool, you hold your own nuts, we do our thing, man. That's cool. And to be honest with you, to really have a real meaningful Pan-African global alliance, then we would all have to have our own respective lineages in order, meaning the FBA would have to be on point with our needs. to represent ourselves and empower ourselves. Those in Jamaica would have to be doing the same. Those in Haiti, those in Ghana, those in Nigeria, those in et cetera, would have to be doing the same. Then we would be able to link. And we should have been already did that. It should have already been happened. And the reason it didn't happen ain't because of us. We was learning more about African history than we was even learning about our own foundational Black history. We actually know more history than they know. You want to keep it a buck? I've dated a Nigerian before for years. I knew more about her history than she did. And generally speaking, we probably do know more about African history than they know. They don't even know they were slaves. And I've heard them say this. And I'm saying most of them. I'm not saying all of them. I mean, how else do you build a 200-foot statue of white Jesus in Nigeria? And you know your history. You don't even know your own spirituality doing that. I ain't clowning. I'm just saying what's real. They got to follow our lead, not the other way around. If they was really on that Pan-Africanist, here's how shit will be rolling right now. Let me just give you some examples. If they was really on it, they would have been hit us up. We would have been able to link. Okay, you guys got chocolate, raw chocolate in Ghana. Okay. West Africa got the real chocolate cocoa beans popping. That means that we can get them on the low, best quality, and we could be creating the chocolate business. We could be popping in the chocolate industry, making confections and chocolate, different candies and stuff. We would have that on lockdown because we would get it right from our brothers in West Africa. Fuck Nestle, fuck Swiss, all them. We should be getting them deals where we would have at this point been able to have several Black confection companies popping because we'd be able to compete, right? Because you're our brothers, so you would give us the best quality of cocoa beans and coffee, right? We would have the coffee industry popping. Starbucks wouldn't be able to, we'd be able to compete with Starbucks. The owner of Starbucks is a billionaire. Starbucks is $1 billion company. Where do you think they get their beans from? Either Africa or South America somewhere in some melanated country. That if they was really on some Pan-Africanist, there's got to be people out there, farmers out there that would link with us on some, man, we'll give them to you so low. Give us 10% of the company. We're going to give you the plug. We got the plug. What else they got over there? Sugar in Haiti. Big business. Why ain't we doing business? I'll tell you why in a minute. What else they got? Gold, diamonds, copper, platinum. We could be blinging it up. We could be blinging it up on the low. Right now, De Beers is controlling that game. These other big companies are controlling that game. Why wouldn't we have the plug on some of those raw materials that we could turn into other things and enrich them and us at the same time? We should be controlling the jewelry game. All that jewelry comes from Africa. That's our ancient homeland, right? That's our cousins over there, right? At some point, we came from there, whether you want to say it was during the Mali Empire times of the 1200s, before that with the Olmecs, before that with Egyptians, whatever. But, we Pan-African brothers, right? We could be having the jewelry game locked down. We could be having the electronics game locked down because they got that cobalt, coltan, vibranium type shit over there. We could be having the energy, lithium, battery, car batteries, gadget batteries, cell phone batteries, cell phones, TVs. We could have the TV game on lock, the flat screen game on lock. We would be able to have industry popping if they were on code. But the reason they're not on code is because they're still being colonized to some degree. Or they're not on code enough to where there's not enough people of them on the grassroots that are really about Pan-Africanism, that are really about industry and business that's locked in with us, that we'd be able to make these things happen. 2024, this shit should have already been popping. Different herbs, produce, vegetables. We would be popping, being able to do business back and forth, trade back and forth. We would be empowered. And don't get me wrong, with this reparations situation, we'll be in position to make that happen if the mentality is right on that end. Like, we could really be there already. South America, Caribbean, Africa, United States, black business. Marcus Garvey had, what, didn't he have steam lines in the 100 years ago? At the end of the day, they can't stop us from doing these things. You guys are 95% of your population in your countries, and you're being ruled by a small percentage. Then you think you're going to tell us how we should be conducting ourselves politically? Nah. You guys are 95% at least of those countries over there. There should be somebody, like, if there was a real Pan-African movement going, I'm not trying to rag on my brothers and sisters from the Caribbean and from the continent, but we got to keep it a buck. If there was really any type of movement going on that was substantial, Pan-African wise, how come we ain't heard of them? We in the days of the internet. Why ain't we heard of them? Let's keep it a buck. They ain't got no Twitter. They ain't got no Facebook pages. They ain't got no Zoom meetings. They ain't got nothing. None of the heads of state over there are looking at us like we're family over here and trying to do some type of land allocation, pull up, resource, share resources, get it popping over there. Let's get industries popping. Nothing. Okay then. All right, that rant right there. Let's get back to what we was talking about though.
On his promise and actually pay out this amount of money, considering we're what $24 billion
right
in the hole already.
Could be 30 billion, and that's a risk as well, because if you don't, if you come forward with these task forces and they say
anyway, that was that's the power of our media, man. That's the power of us collectively being on code. That's the power of us continuing to stay on task and to stay focused on different, movements or subjects that benefit us. Reparations was not a national conversation before the underground grassroots media started speaking on it, holding court on the streets about it. Now all of a sudden, yeah, it's a conversation. All of a sudden, they have to subvert it. See, first they ignore it, then they mock it, then they fight it. And even check this out. Let's go ahead and check out a couple. See, every time when we have a message, right? Let me show you this real quick. We always see people that have more larger influence pick up on it. So in this case, let's go with the Katt Williams effect. So I know everybody's been on that Katt Williams and what he said and this and that. And why I think it's important what he said was because we're talking about delineation, right? Where we at, man? Let's get this thing popping. There we go. Hold on. What we're gonna do, Let's do this real quick. But anyway, what's important about the Katt Williams situation is that what he did basically is delineated. He delineated and separated the real, right, from the fake. He separated the plants. He's talking about industry plants. He's calling out the Fugazi industry. He's separating those who really was thorough and took the stairs versus those who compromised themselves. Because if they compromise themselves, they can never really be good for the collective. Remember how Steve Harvey was buck dancing to Monique. We can't. This ain't no time to be being black. We got. It's about the money game. It ain't the integrity game. Y'all remember that? Maybe we'll go get that. But check this out though. This is a Katt Williams. This was after that interview, and just to show you that these cats be tapped in to the grassroots. Listen to what he's talking about in this stand-up bit.
But I gotta bring to your attention some shit that is gonna happen, and you gotta know to get behind it. Don't fight. White people, I'm so glad I got y'all here in front of all these minorities. We gonna really need y'all.
Straight like that.
White people, for the first time in history, it is now time for black people in America to get paid reparations. White people, why now? I'll tell you why, white people, if you will indulge. Not because I say so. I'm nobody. I don't even represent all black people. But I do represent all niggas.
Straight like that.
And you're not supposed to know the difference. Yeah, I'm not making this up. Now black people need the reparations. Now, black people, it's our money, and when do we need it?
Right now.
Some of them was Mexican. That's how bad we need that. Do you understand, white people? We didn't rehearse that. We need it.
Straight like that.
Now let me explain it to you financially, white people, why you want these reparations too. We just gave $300 billion to Ukraine. Billion with a B. And we didn't even feel that in our pockets. We just did it. And they ain't telling you the truth. We gave Ukraine all that money. They can't even fight. They over there getting their ass whooped. Did you know that? With $300 billion. Like, if you could have spent that money on niggas. You'd have free barbecue all goddamn day, free basketball and dancing.
Real shit. He's saying basically you could have gave it to us. You would have got something out of it. And that's really the same talking point we've been saying, right? You give the money to us, we're going to put it back in the economy. It's actually going to be better. Despite what that dude was saying on Fox News, it's actually going to be better for the market. That's what Katt is saying in this joke. We just gave away all this money. You gave away all this money, didn't get nothing out of it. These niggas can't even fight over there. We're just throwing billions of dollars away that should be going, staying in the country. That could be paying a debt that is owed and been owed. So he's saying it with jokes, but he's saying some real shit. And that's a good neutralizer. That's a good, it signal boosts the message. See, this delineation move is really bigger than just, we're going to separate from this and that. No, the delineation move is really a solidifying codification move. Because now we're starting to identify who's paying attention, who's on that same page, who's on that same time as us. See, we're seeing the charlatans, we're delineating, we're calling them out. We're seeing the tethers, we're calling them out. We're seeing the plants, we're calling them out. We're separating, we're delineating, we're refining our own. We're tribing up. We're refining our message. And we're seeing that in all realms of societies, we have allies, we have people that are paying attention, that feel like we feel. We're actually crafting the narrative from the grassroots. This is organic shit. This is just, you know what I'm saying? See, on the other side, they have to handpick cats just to subvert our message. They have to scout out people and put them in position, put them in front of the media cameras, try to give them influence to neutralize our shit. But that don't really compare to the organic grassroots movement because we're more in number and real recognize real. And if it didn't, and power only recognizes power. So obviously there's a powerful force behind what we're doing if they have to try to neutralize it, even on the biggest media stage like Fox News. So what we're doing is resonating.
What a joy.
He said, what a joy.
Why? Because we are too great of a country to still be dealing with racism in 2024.
Straight
we
like
can
that.
get rid of this shit in a real way. Like, here's the thing. They won't tell you this. You pay them reparations, white people, racism is dead that day. Do you hear me? White people, you deserve
Straight like that.
You ain't never had a slave in your life. Don't you want to get this off you? Just go on and do right by niggas.
That's all.
White people, here's what they won't tell you. You pay them reparations, white people, you can say
Nigga. Straight like that. Any fucking time.
White people trying to act like they don't care.
You a nigga. Straight like that.
Now remember, this dude is a multimillionaire already. He already got his money. So you got to salute the fact that he's carrying the message of reparations. You got to respect that. He personally don't need the money, but he understands collectively we do. See, that's what this delineation really do. That's what the revitalization of our culture and the knowledge of ourselves and the revering of our ancestors do. It's going to connect politics from the grassroots up. We're going to signal boost our own messages. Remember, he did this right after. So he's probably working up for another big special. Because I've seen him do this joke before. He's working it in there. He's putting reparations material in his stand-up comedy now with the platform that he has, with the diversity of his platform. That's actually a good thing. It's actually good to neutralize white folks to the idea of reparations because that neutralizes some of the resistance we get. And then we can have them neutralize those who will go against it. It just helps grease the wheels a little bit. Because it's a political move, so we do want people to back it. So all the different ammo, this thing is going in a way that it's just accelerating. Check this out. Tell me that this cat ain't also tapped in and understand the importance of delineation. Check this out. This is funny as fuck too. This is Mike Epps. Let's get this one. This is Mike Epps.
Nigga told me you are not one of us. I was like, who am I, motherfucker? He's like, I don't know. You are very confused. You do not know your education. You are very lazy. I said, can you drive this cab a little faster? And stop teaching your kids to be me. Stop wearing our shit since we ain't shit. Yeah, we started this shit, African Americans. Without us, there is no hip hop. Without us, there is nothing. I went to Africa and the nigga told me you are not one of us. I was like, who am I, motherfucker?
Ain't that what they be saying, that we ain't one of them? Look at man.
He's like, I don't know. You are very confused. You do not know your education. You are very lazy. I said, can you drive this cab a little faster?
He's clown.
Stop teaching your kids to be me.
Yeah, he's saying quit tethering, basically. Quit tethering in since you want to disrespect.
Stop wearing our shit since we ain't shit.
Quit trying to, you know what I'm saying, imitate us. For real. Afro beats. That's just a remix of what we doing. Ain't nothing wrong with it. But when you tell us we ain't got a culture, this is why this delineation, this pushback is important. Because everybody got to catch the fade that they got coming to them. Everybody got to either get on code or get the fuck away from us. Everybody got to get that work until they get it right. This is the tough love that we have to now administer tough love. Starting in-house to our you know what I'm saying, our nuclear family, you could say, our extended family. We got to make sure that the discipline is in order. Because the disrespect is too much. We ain't got no culture is what they say. But then they imitate everything we do. Afro beats is really just hip hop that they remixed. Even in Jamaica, ska music is really just their version of our R&B because reggae was made illegal in their country. And that's another thing. All majorities of the countries, and you guys still are letting a minority of white people or Asian people rule over you. You can't say nothing to us until you get that checked. Until you get that in order. Because we ain't the majority over here, but we make shit move. Imagine if we were 95% of the population. Do you really think in South Africa and Zimbabwe we would let them set up shop in the best parts of the country, starve us out, and not let us? You think we would let them not let us? You know, there's certain parts in South Africa and Zimbabwe where black people can't even go. Native Zimbabweans, indigenous Zimbabweans can't go to certain parts of Zimbabwe and South Africa that are preserved for white people unless they work there. You think that could happen here if we're the majority, if we're 95% of the population? If we were 95% of the population in the United States, you already know. You already know.
Yeah. We started this shit. African Americans. Without us, there is no hip hop. Without us, there is nothing. I went to
Why would you talk about another black dude? Race is not where the line is drawn. It's God's side and the other side. And we don't care nothing about the other side. Period. All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way. Why would you talk about another black dude? Race is not where the line is drawn. It's God.
All right. Let's get back on that Katt Williams tip for a minute. Yep. Because really this is something that he started that really could be a movement or at least a shift in paradigm. I know he's a comedian and all that. I know some of the stuff might have been Katt. I know it's entertainment. But on a bigger level, that it really resonates. Because it's the exposing of those who have been placed in front of us or who have compromised themselves for gains versus the real. Some of this manufactured propaganda versus the real grassroots. But speaking of all this stuff that's been going on in the comedy wars that's been happening, Dave Chappelle, I love Dave Chappelle. He has some things to say about the Katt Williams tip. Let's hear it.
Everybody put your phones down. Let's just have a good time. You said what? No, D-Ray. You know why? Because Marlon Wayans called me and told me you said what Katt did was good for comedy. No, it's not. And I'm 50. Yes, it was. No, it's not. No, because he did that.
Let's see if we back yet. Hold up. We back. 1 2 1 2. I think we back, man. Let's get back to that.
And this come out, I read 3,000 books by the time I was 7 years old. What the fuck are you talking about? We challenging money. I read 3,000 books. Because I put a special out the same day, and it was fine.
So you can hear Dave Chappelle. He's kind of firing at Katt a little bit. Mostly mad because I guess that interview dropped the same day as Dave Chappelle's special. Let me say this, man. I fucks with Dave Chappelle heavy. And in this case, you don't feel like you have to take, because I notice a lot of people in the comments when it comes to this Dave Chappelle, Katt Williams, whatever. Even Corey Holcomb got in on it. We're going to show you a clip from that in a minute. But you ain't got to really take sides like that. You know what I'm saying? I fucks with Dave Chappelle heavy. I respect him. I salute him. He speaks out on things. He's funny. I fucked with him ever since, you know what I'm saying, the Chappelle show. I fucks with Katt Williams. I fucks with Corey Holcomb. Let the comics do their little shit. Dave Chappelle's a little salty because his special didn't do as well as he thought, and you know he's saying that he's going over white people. But let's remember what Katt Williams said here before we continue. Where's it at? Let's remember what Katt Williams said. Here's what he said:
side and the other side, and we don't care nothing about the other side. Period. All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way.
All right. So, you know, Davis, you know, he's going to jostle Katt a little bit. He wasn't really feeling, he didn't really disrespect him, though. It was really more in just humor and just him giving his opinion. I don't agree with it. As much as I do fuck with Dave, I think it's necessary to shake up the game. I think it's necessary to call out some of these busters. It's necessary to refine the game. I ain't just talking about entertainment. I'm talking about everything when it comes to our media, when it comes to our voice. It all has to be refined because they use some of these cats to influence us. I don't mean cat like what I'm saying. They use some of these entertainers and influential individuals from us to influence us on their behalf. So we have to be able to identify those who are grassroots. Like we speak all this Illuminati as a blanket term when it comes to like who's controlling this and that. And understand that Illuminati is just a blanket term, man. Like don't get too deep into it to where You know what I'm saying? Like, identify who people really are. When we say Illuminati, yeah, we're saying people behind the scenes that make shit happen and shit. But for real, conceptually speaking, we got to know who's who. We identify the grassroots from those who they put in our face to influence us, whether it be in media, politics, entertainment. We have to be able to know the difference. See, the difference is those who took the stairs versus took the elevator. Those who did it on their own because they recognized their greatness, they didn't have to compromise. We could use the putting on the dress, but that's a good general gauge. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? There's different, like there's levels to this. Not everyone who made it. We got to get up off this tip that everyone who made it had to suck dick or sacrifice no, it ain't really like that. Don't get me wrong. There are individuals who have compromised themselves in ways that we couldn't imagine and things, you know what I'm saying? Like real shady shit does go down, but not everybody who made it. We should not give credit to the quote unquote Illuminati or Satan or anything like that. We should understand that we have that greatness in us. There are some people. It's like this. Let's look at Nipsey Hussle. Let's look at like a Denzel Washington. Let's look at some of the really creative, talented people who understood what it's like and hustled on their own. Look at the Master P's, right? He got it out the mud. So when Priority Records offered him $1 million, he turned it down because he was like, yo, you can make me famous. Yeah, I'll go triple, quadruple, platinum fucking with you guys with the distribution. But if I'm giving you 93 points and taking some type of advance from you, I'm gonna be broke. I could sell millions of records on your label and still be broke, but I could sell tens of thousands of records. Look at Mac Dre on the West Coast. He said he sold about 20,000 records minimum every album. At a time where selling them out the trunk, keeping all the profit meant that 20,000, you're probably getting $250,000 or at least 150,000. So you might not go platinum, but you'll be living better than these dudes on these major labels who are selling millions. Because you ain't making 200,000 off of $1 million album sales if you're on a major label on the 360 deals. You're in debt. You're renting shit, which means that you're compromised, which means that you'll have to go on an apology tour because you don't want to mess up the money because your record company and managers and agents are telling you, oh, you can't say that. Yeah, you could say kill a nigga, kill a bitch, do all this, sell drugs, all that. But don't say you got Jewish money. Don't say you don't get down with the Rainbow Crew, because now you got to go on an apology tour because you're still a slave. See, some people know their worth, know their value, know how to hustle, know how to get it out the mud, so they don't have to compromise themselves. They know they have the talent that is in demand, so they may not get as many opportunities. They may have to take a longer route. They may not get as famous, but they still can eat and they can maintain their dignity. It's important to know the difference between those and industry plants who will say anything or who are controlled, because we can't let the latter have influence in a voice that represents us. So there's levels to this. So Dave Chappelle's a free man. Katt's a free man. Let him speak, man. We gotta take sides on that. But this delineation and shaking up the game is important, if you ask me. Now here's something that Corey Holcomb said. Now I fucks with Corey Holcomb, but I think he's clout chasing on this one though.
Dave Chappelle, I would like to ask you, why are you always in business with drag queens and gay comics? Most of the men around you that you have on the road opening up or whatever, some of them be, I know why Earthquake got a special. I know why Paul Mooney was on your show. Homie, I'm in these comedy streets. I know what's happening. Why you ain't talk about that? I like to have men on the backdoor side around me. Why y'all don't never talk about that? See, that's why Corey Holcomb ain't no Hollywood superstar, because y'all like to hide who you are.
Okay, so that's the intro for today.
I was at the Improv. And at the Improv in Hollywood, sometimes big name acts pop through.
Man.
Last week, my brother, Dave Chappelle, popped through. And he went on stage. And, yo, I have done my best to try and keep my opinion to myself, but there's a reason I'm bringing out my opinion right now, because Mr. Katt Williams has ignited energy into the comedy community that I feel is absolutely necessary. And those who think differently, you entitled to your opinion. But Katt Williams, whether it be all true or not and have some false or whatever, he shook this game up. And I feel like it needed to be shook up, because we some scary motherfuckers, man. But my nut's too big to just be quiet forever about shit that I see in this comedy game that must be spoken on. God! I can't be quiet no more. My nigga Dave Chappelle be bombing like a motherfucker. I'm just keeping it real, dog. I have watched, whenever they say, hey, everybody, guess what? Special guest, Dave Chappelle. I'll be like, damn. It's finna be hot garbage for at least an hour, maybe 2. I'm just keeping it real. I'm not trying to shit on the brother, but
I've never seen Dave Chappelle bomb. I'm pretty sure all comics do bomb. I have heard people say that they don't like his latest specials as much. He's not as funny. He just does lectures now. Here's what I'll say about that, man. First of all, I like every single Dave Chappelle special I've seen, even the ones that seem preachy, because I understand that out of all the comedy that he has given us over these years, he is at a legendary status now. He does have a voice that people want to hear. He does have opinions, and he's typically codified when it comes to things that have to do with our people. So at this point, it seems like he's using his platform, as someone of his status could do, and I appreciate doing, to speak about certain subjects that are relevant. Maybe they're not as funny, maybe they're not loaded with as many jokes, but I think they're just as important because he's holding dialogue. That's one of the reasons why I like Corey Holcomb. I think Corey Holcomb is a very talented comedian. As a matter of fact, I would have seen him a couple of weeks ago if it didn't sell out when I was trying to get the tickets, and I couldn't go on the other day that was still, because he came to town. I think Corey Holcomb is one of the funniest alive stand-up comedians today. He's almost in that same vein of a Patrice O'Neal, who was a fucking goat. I would say he's cut from that same cloth, matter of fact. And I also like the 5150 show because not only is it funny and entertaining, but he also will speak upon different things that a lot of people will be afraid to speak on. See, I like comedy. That's why I like the George Carlin, the white dude? Even Bill Burr, the Paul Mooney's, the Richard. I like the comedians that will say some real shit, make it funny, but still drop jewels. So I like Corey Holcomb. I happen to think in this case he's going after Dave Chappelle because he's picking sides with the Dave Chappelle Katt Williams situation, and he's trying to stir controversy. I think he's kind of clout chasing a little bit. So by attacking Dave Chappelle, maybe Dave Chappelle will answer, which he's not going to. I think he's trying to get, some clickbait. He's trying to get in on this wave, which is kind of sucker shit, but kind of understandable. I don't agree with him, but I still fucks with Corey. I fucks with Dave. I don't agree with what he said. I think what Katt did is what he should have did. He shook up the game. He called out some buster ass niggas on some Tupac shit, on some hit 'em up shit. He's exposing some shit, and he's also keeping within the spirit of delineation and the spirit of separating the real from the fake, which is very important. Because we can see by who could talk, who could speak freely and not. Like if any of these entertainers or people that's put in our face to influence us cannot speak upon real subjects and cannot say what they really feel, they have to bite their tongue because they're afraid of losing a pay opportunity. We don't need them speaking for us. Now, don't get me wrong. I've heard of some cats who you may think are sellouts or kind of soft, who really do things on the underground tip. There are cats like that. But in my opinion, and I believe the good Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad said the same thing. He paraphrased it, and I think who else? Somebody else said the same thing. I'm of the opinion of, if you can't speak because it will compromise your bag, then don't speak. Use your resources on the under and just give an alley-oop to some grassroots activism going on in the community. You don't have to speak out loud if your bag is tied to it. If you're in a situation where if you say some real shit, you will lose opportunities, then don't say shit. But don't let them use you to say some faulty shit. Just don't say shit and then just pass the bag on the low. So when we see cats that are willing to speak up on our behalf, then you know that those are free men. You know that they're really truly independent. You know that they're less likely to be compromised. Not that we ever take cue or orders from entertainers. Really what they do is they signal boost what we're saying on the grassroots. But this is what 2024 is doing. It's separating. It's making it easier to identify who's with us and who ain't. Everything's in divine time right now. We're starting to see. Now, of course, there's going to be skirmishes. This is the comedy. This is the entertainment side of the game. This is, different comedians going at it. Real ones. Corey, to me, is a real one. Katt Williams is a real one. Dave Chappelle's a real one. If they're going to skirmish a little bit, that's okay. We don't got to take sides. We ain't got to throw neither of them under the bus. We could agree with what we agree with. And then understand, some of this is just entertainment. It's trying to sell tickets and shit. But at the end of the day, any true progress and any true messaging always comes from the grassroots. So when you see celebrities and those of higher influence mimicking what we're saying in a good way, meaning taking our message and pushing it forward, we should applaud that. We don't take cues from them. They take cues from us. They have social media. They hear what we're saying. They have cousins. They have kids. They have brothers and sisters and aunts and nephews. They see what we're saying. They're tapped in. Even if they can't give us a salute on the open, they're tapped in. Just like these major networks and these politicians, they're tapped in. What we're saying does mean something. This is why they have to try to usurp hip hop. This is why they snatched hip hop in the 90s when it was politically educating and motivating and inspiring our people to do better things. When it was educating our people, they had to take it. Because the influence. If we could have white kids breakdancing in Czechoslovakia, scratching turntables in Japan, screaming "Fight the Power" in Sweden, they start warming up to our message. They start being influenced by us. We can control through remote with our culture the outcome worldwide in certain political, socio-economic realms of society. That's why they want to control. They can't control hip hop, but they can control the mechanism of rap music and the distribution and promotion of rap music, the marketing side. This is why it's important for us to continue to solidify and gatekeep our culture and use it to empower ourselves. This is how social media helps us to leverage these things with the technology. And our influence is great. Like, think about why they want us to, why they were going so hard for us to cape for Israel in this Israeli-Palestinian conflict. They were trying to shame us into supporting their genocide of Palestinians. And we don't got to take either side. Don't get it twisted. But they specifically was trying to campaign for us and even use shaming tactics for us to outwardly support what they're doing, which would really just mess up all of our credibility. Like, imagine them getting us to support what they're doing as if they also weren't part of the slavery process, and they didn't, owned more slaves disproportionately than anyone in the United States, and also controlled the whole economic apparatus. But they want us to support them. They didn't care that the NAACPs and their handpicked media Negroes were supporting them, because they were. They wanted the grassroots. That's why they were shaming us. All the Boule organizations were already, back in Israel. That's not what they wanted. They wanted the grassroots. They understand the power that we have and the influence that we have. They understand the blessing that we can bestow upon them just by giving them our moral support. That should be a signal for us to why we need to harness our own energy, our own support, and aggregate our own influence and power and economics amongst ourselves for our own causes. No, we don't have time to be cheerleading for Palestine or for the Israelis. We need to be cheerleading for ourselves. Right now, we need reparations. We need justice. We need specific tangibles for us. We need certain bills that protect us, that give us leverage. Anyway, I think it's about time to shut this down and make sure there ain't nothing else I wanted to. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, that migrant situation. That's what I wanted to talk about. No, this is what I want to talk about. Okay, this is something that actually, this is a good thing right here. Check this out. I actually like this. So we know that there were some brothers and sisters that was killed in Jordan. So some 3 U.S. troops. And, a lot of people were saying, it was like a debate going on I seen online. And it was like, do we want them to retaliate for us? Or should we be mad if they don't retaliate? Does that mean that, they don't really value the black troops that lost their life? To me, look, I'm saying tear that shit up. They killed 3 foundational black American troops. I'm not saying I agree with them being in the army and being overseas, getting into other, people's business, but they did. For whatever reason, they made that decision. But I'm saying that I don't like the idea that there could be a bombing, a drone strike, if what's being reported is true, of these camel breath, dusty desert rats that killed 3 FBAs without any kind of retaliation. I think just the very energy, the whole idea of that doesn't sit well with me. So I was actually happy when I seen this right here. This actually made me happy.
We can now report that U.S. strikes in both Syria and Iraq at spots at locations in both of those countries have begun. That is official from 2 U.S. defense officials.
As you just heard, the United States military has begun striking targets in both Syria and Iraq as part of their retaliation against Iran-backed forces after the death of 3 United States service members in Jordan.
All right, so let's take a look at these 3. We got Kennedy Landon Sanders of Georgia. Pretty sure she's FBA. Right? She was killed. Rest in peace. We got Specialist Brianna Muffet, 23 years old, killed. I believe she was from Georgia as well. So that's 2 sisters, young. For whatever reason they want to join the army, that's not my business. All I'm saying, I don't like the idea that it could be some global attack that everybody seeing, the world sees, and there's no retaliation. I understand that this is probably being used for some type of prop, you know what I'm saying? They're using it for a motive. They probably wanted to get at them cats anyway. But I think it would have been a worse. I don't think it would have been a good look if something like that internationally known happened and there was no retaliation. You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, I'm not even so sure that these Arab cats that attacked and killed these sisters and this brother, they might have expected that they can get away with it because they were black. So they should know. Nah, you got to get that work. And then we got this brother right here, Sergeant William Rivers, 46, one of the soldiers killed in the attack. So I'm saying you killed 3 of ours over there in the Middle East. You Arabic camel riding, dusty, funky mouth bastards. Killed 3 of ours. And now you got to get that work. You got to get that work. That precedence has to be set. I get it. They're American soldiers now, but I think it would have been disrespectful if they didn't retaliate. If there wasn't some type of retaliation, I think that would have been undermining and send a bad signal. Yeah, I think the world globally needs to know that there'll be retribution. I think that energy needs to be put out there. The same way, like when Israel was attacked, and they're like, okay, you attacked Israel now. One Israelite is worth 10,000 Palestinians, and they went on that rampage slaughter. Okay, cool. You just crossed game. You bombed out some FBA folks. And now you got to get that work.
Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon elaborated more on what to expect following these initial bombings.
What we have been expecting all afternoon and for days now, frankly, is that the U.S. campaign led by U.S. Central Command, which will involve, we're told, air assets as well as sea assets as well as space assets. This is going to be a multi-tiered campaign. It's going to last.
Wait. Did she just say space assets? Space assets. Okay. All right. Space assets. They're so basically what they're doing is they're giving like if you're in these places getting hit by space missiles or whatever the hell that means, space assets, whatever that means, you're getting the raining of bombs and shit. You know, you're seeing the wrath of God. Yeah, you kill some black folks, all of a sudden Armageddon rained on your little dusty ass neighborhood. And I like that. I happen to like that. Just something about that resonates with my spirit. Well, I understand this is politics. This is the same, you know what I'm saying? I get it. It's probably Katt. They just probably wanted to go in and slaughter some people. But since they touched ours, blood should be shed. That's just how I feel about it. So I ain't mad at this
days. It's going to strike multiple targets. I'm told upwards of a dozen to 2 dozen targets in Syria and Iraq.
They hit multiple targets. Yes. Bomb the shit out these motherfuckers. There's a lot other reasons that, you know what I'm saying, these things happen, but nah. 3 of ours got killed, 3 of ours, FBAs, got killed. I ain't just talking about American soldiers. I'm saying they touched us. The world needs to see a response. That's what I'm on. I get it. They're doing it because they're American soldiers and, you know, they got to save face and all that, but good. I'm glad they did that. So I think if they wouldn't have done that, if they would have been like, oh, that's okay, that would have send a bad message. That would have sent a global message that, you know, niggas ain't worth shit. We don't care, even if they are soldiers. I think that would have been worse. So yeah, bloodshed in the name of these FBA soldiers, man. I'm with it. Yeah, rain hell for the lives of these FBA soldiers right here, man.
Targeting those Iranian proxy forces.
Because remember, like these Arabs, they ain't our friends, they ain't our allies. They historically they ain't been that. Like let's not forget the history of what the Arabs did. Starting when they came in, you know, into Egypt, seized East Africa, moved to the West, where they're still at, came over here. They in, you know what I'm saying, our communities ain't treating us. They, you know what I'm saying, they're racist. They're the original. They enslaved black people before Europeans. They still enslave black people in some parts of, you know what I'm saying, in Arabia and such, Libya, Tanzania, I want to say Morocco. So they still participating in the slave trading of people who look like us. Regions where far enough back our people come from. They still look at us as beneath them. So let terror reign on their dusty ass cities after they touched us like that. That's what I'm saying.
Where they store the rockets, the drones, the command and control, and that is what they're going to be focusing on.
As there often is with breaking news, there was some initial confusion in regards to the strikes. A little more on that. ABC News reported an initial battery of strikes in Syria did not come from the United States, sources say. US strikes are still anticipated. However, shortly thereafter, additional confirmation came from US sources that the military did indeed strike Syria. And President Biden and other top US leaders had been warning for days that the United States would strike back at the militias. And they made it clear that it's not just going to be one hit, but a tiered response over time. So this from a statement from the president. This afternoon, at my direction, US military forces struck targets at facilities in Iraq and Syria that the IRGC and affiliated militia used to attack US forces. Our response began today. It will continue at times and places of our choosing. So some,
you know, damn well he didn't write that, but anyway.
More details about the strikes that happened today. The massive barrage of strikes by manned and unmanned aircraft hit more than 85 targets at 7 locations, including command and control headquarters, intelligence centers, rockets and missiles, drone and ammunition storage sites, and other facilities that were connected to the militias or the IRGC's Quds Force, the Guards expeditionary unit that handles Tehran's relationship and arming of regional militias. It continues on. US Central Command said the strikes used more than 125 precision munitions, and they
launching 125 bombs and rockets
delivered by numerous aircraft, including long-range bombers flown from the United States. One official who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss details of the operation said B-1 bombers were used.
B-1 bombers, baby. They're using the B-1 bombers, man. The Black First bombers. All right? Yeah. You thought you was going to step on niggas like that? You thought you was just going to step on niggas, huh? Nah, now we got the B. How ironic. B-1 bombers, baby. Motherfucking right. I don't know if they're trolling or not, but they use the B-1 bombers on that. Let me see what else we got, man. I know y'all. Oh, yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Let's do this one. All right. So I know y'all seen this, right? I know y'all seen the migrants in New York. Let me see. Y'all heard of that? So let's go.
Even more outrage over the group of migrants accused of attacking
I ain't
2
gonna lie.
New York City police officers. That's what you're looking at on the left hand of your screen.
I ain't gonna lie. Something within my spirit won't allow me to get upset when I see police getting kicked and stomped. I just can't get mad. It doesn't, the sense of enrage doesn't come when I see police getting that work. I don't get mad at that. Right? So I'm not even mad at these guys.
Over the group of migrants accused of attacking 2 New York City police officers. That's what you're looking at on the left hand of your screen. Those guys were freed without bail.
But understand what this is. That they let the like we, you know, we've already been seeing the flooding of the zone, all these immigrants coming in, getting all these resources. These dudes actually had like their own little facility that was funded by taxpayer money. And they're able to beat up a police officer, which whatever. They might have deserved it. I don't know. But then they just get out scot-free. Like they're like, understand what's really happening right now. See, white supremacy will sacrifice even their own well-being at times, even themselves at times, just to maintain the hierarchy, to let us know that other people can get away with things that we can't, because we know that if there was brothers stomping the police, they would not have been out without bail the next day. That wouldn't have happened. But these non-citizens that they will let in as honorary white people, they'll make sure that they will display and troll us to some degree just to show us that they could still have privileges that we couldn't have and that we couldn't get away with. I mean, it's not enough that they're letting them in the first place, typically in our neighborhoods, and getting resources that should be ours, that they're letting these criminals that are unvetted just come in and live amongst us, and they're doing all kind of crimes. But then they're letting them get away with it. They're not only giving them money that we could be getting for reparations, like we have people in these same communities that these immigrants are coming to and getting resources. We have people who are citizens that could use those same resources, these same housing resources that they're giving to non-citizens. Like we're sitting here stomping for reparations, and they're trying to run interference and cap. Giving reparations, it's going to be worse for the people getting it. Oh, it's going to make violence. People are going to be mad at them. It's going to shake the markets. It's going to turn the markets upside down. They're saying all that when we're talking about reparations, but you don't mind giving all these resources to non-citizens and allowing them to commit crimes, get out scot-free. That's their way of saying, hey, we're bringing in new niggas. We're bringing in a wave of people who we're going to put ahead of you. We're going to put over you. You would think us being actual resident citizens, foundational to this country, that they wouldn't allow illegal people to come here and still give them preferential treatment and resources. But no, they're showing you how dedicated they are to white supremacy.
And now look at this. Here's one suspect flipping the bird to the cameras. He could care less. Another blows kisses as he smiles and laughs.
And this is Democrat shit right here. And listen, I'm not a Republican. I'm glad that people are getting off of the Democratic train and seeing it for what it is. It doesn't mean that the Republicans are better. There are certain things, me personally, that I could agree with more that are Republican talking points. But at the end of the day, like, this is the delineation, right? This is we ain't rocking with any of them until they do some things. Not just like, okay, I like the Republican stance on the immigration. They want to make sure that, and since it hurts us, I can agree with what they say on the immigration tip. But even that ain't something that's specific for us. It may help us disproportionately, but that's not the same as being something specifically for us. But part of this struggle, this delineation, and us pulling away from Democrats mean that Democrats are going to try to replace us with immigrants, which is going to backfire. But they're only doing that to undermine us. And they do get preferential treatment. Even the Caribbeans. Check this out. Check this out, right?
Shirley Chisholm, right? Her family was given housing priority over African-American families. And she wrote about that in her book to share to people that, like, during that time, America was intentionally bringing Caribbean families here and giving them more generational wealth and taking that away from the African-Americans that were already here.
So I went to Brooklyn College too, and I have this Trinidadian professor. But what she said was like, back in like the 60s, 70s, they wanted a more docile N-word. They was doing too much.
Yeah.
So they brought over the more docile, well-behaved, hardworking Black people from the Caribbean, and they gave them opportunities to land and housing, and especially in New York.
Shirley Chisholm, right?
Right there. These are Caribbeans admitting that, yeah, they got preferential treatment. In the 60s and 70s, they wanted a more docile. So what does that mean? See, they know we turn up. They know that we're going to fight for justice in this system. So this is why we're saying, like, this Pan-African, for this Pan-African shit to work. The reason why we can't fade that no more. And the reason is because it's one thing, okay, they're trying to run game to pit you against us, but you guys are falling for it, and you guys are coming over with that same attitude. Too many of y'all are. It ain't all Caribbeans, it ain't all Africans, it ain't all none of that. But too many. Like too many. Like, we could point on every level of society, whether it's the Candace Owens, the Roland Martins, the Mark Lamont Hills, people that are used as representatives for us that ain't really us. We can't point to those same lineage of people in the same type of numbers that are really riding with us. We even see it unfold on social media too much. So that's the point. That's why the Pan-African Week, until y'all start really riding and showing us something, there's no discussion with that. We got to focus on us. Because, yeah, we know that they're trying to use you to undermine us. They want a more docile us. Coincidentally, in the 60s and 70s, when we put in the work for y'all to get here. And then, of course, they gave you, different preferential treatment. But then you took that and rolled with that as to say you worked harder than us and you're better than us and you're not us. And because now you're happy that you got certain things that you couldn't get in your own homeland. Now you're telling us that we're complaining too much because you're living good. Of course, if you was living in a shanty town and in some, hut somewhere, and now, you have more luxuries that you didn't have. Yeah, you're happy. You're content. You're living good. Why are we complaining? That's the mentality you guys are coming with. Too many of y'all. And until y'all sort that out, because we're going to call you out on it. But at the end of the day, y'all should be calling you out on it. If you really rock with us, you should be calling your people out that are off code. the same way we do to ours. Don't let these folks get you twisted over some fucking trinkets. Don't have the audacity to tell us how we should be conducting ourselves in our struggle and our fight for justice when you didn't fight for justice where you came from. This ain't no hatred. This is just truth bombs. We gotta tell the truth. We gotta get the house in order. We gotta get the family right. So we're starting with our own, and then we could extend it. But y'all gotta start with your own. Y'all gotta show us something too. Because you guys know what the game is. Once in a while, I see you guys like videos like this. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know that these people are really trying to pit you against us. So why are you falling for it? Why are you using that leverage to try to undermine us? I mean, the fact that you had to leave where you came from to come here should let you know that they're not your friends because they decimated your homeland. They're still controlling your resources. This is what y'all should really be thinking about. Why would you come here from Nigeria when you got gold under your feet? You have oil under your feet. You have resources under your feet. Every black person in every country in Africa could be a millionaire based on the resources in those countries. No cap. Everyone in Haiti, everyone in Jamaica, there's resources there that they should be millionaires. If the resources weren't being controlled, like where do you think all the wealth that Europe is getting is coming from? They don't have resources to sustain that standard of living that they have over there. They're extracting those resources from the same countries you guys are fleeing from and then telling us that we're doing too much because we're pushing for justice. Well, that's what y'all should have been doing over there. Y'all would have never had to flee over here. And we could have really put that Pan-African business down. We could have really stood on some business that would have been mutually beneficial and empowering for both of us, for all of us. And we're the majority. You know that Haiti alone was producing 80% of France's economics. That's why Napoleon had to sell the Louisiana Purchase to United States, which meant everything west of the Mississippi, because he lost so much money when Haiti revolted. So that means Haiti really should be the richest country in the Western Hemisphere. Y'all should not be eating dirt pies over there. Y'all won a war, and we salute you for that. But then what'd you do? You made a deal. First of all, you got rid of the real writers. Well, Toussaint Louverture, he did some sucker shit. Let's keep it a buck. He went to go meet with Napoleon after the war was already over, thinking that they were going to have a good little conversation and make some type of treaty. And niggas was telling him, don't go over there. He went anyway. They killed him. Jean-Jacques Dessalines stepped it up. He stepped up. He was doing some things. He was leading it. He got sabotaged by the house Negroes who took over. And when they took over, they gave it pretty much back to France because they made a deal saying that they're going to pay France reparations. They said they're going to pay France, who they just defeat in a military. They didn't just defeat France. They defeated France, Spain, England, and the United States. But since it was France's, territory, they defeated France and then negotiated with them and told them that they would pay them money as a severance package since they no longer can colonize and enslave them anymore. They made that deal, which is why they're still poor to this day because of that very deal. And not only did France take that deal and say, yeah, you're going to give us all this money for the next 200 years, they also barricaded and blocked off the ports so that the Haitians couldn't send out their goods to other countries and make economic, what I'm saying, economically empower themselves. They did sanctions, meaning that no European country would do business with them, but they also did a blockade so that they couldn't even send any ships out. When really what you should have done is just finish them. You don't make negotiations, you just won. Okay, that was because of political immaturity, because we, just came out and say, okay, that's whatever. Zimbabwe, South Africa did the same thing. To a degree, we here did the same thing. But we wasn't 95% of the population. So the point is, if you was really on code, if you had the spirit that we had, if you was if you was locked in with us, we wouldn't have to be talking this Pan-African and shit. We would already be, we'd be good. We're 1 billion strong, black people with African descent. Especially if you added up the continent, North America, South America, the Caribbean, we're probably 1.5 billion easy. We're pretty much the majority of the global population. We be running shit. So until y'all understand that and y'all get on that page, we got to do what we do. But we have to respectfully say, please do not interfere with what we do. Either back it or back up. You see the game. They're using all these immigrants against us. They're using the Spanish-speaking immigrants against us. They're using the immigrants that look like us against us. They're giving leverage to them over us. We see it. And we know why. We know why they have to go out of their way. This is why they have to go out of the way.
Question in all of this is that nobody knows who's going to pay for it. They don't know final numbers. They don't know very much about these reparations. And yet these panels in San Francisco and statewide keep coming forward saying, we need all this money to go to these people and we need it now.
Yeah, it's a big problem. First off, psychologically, we know that giving people massive amounts of money generally doesn't work out very well for the people that are getting the money.
I mean, look at that. Why is this dude saying that it would be worse for us to get reparations money? See, this is why they have to prop people up. They are afraid of us being able to be empowered. They don't even want us to have economic power. This is why they had to find reasons to bomb the communities that we created. Remember, during the Black Wall Street, it wasn't just Black Wall Street was just a section of Tulsa. It was not a black town. It was 40 acres of businesses and black community within Tulsa, Oklahoma. But that wasn't the only thing that was popping. There were dozens, scores of cities, black towns. There was dozens of them just in Oklahoma alone. Redbird, Boley, Tallahassee, Langston. Black towns. But there was black towns all over the South, all over the Midwest, Florida, California. And they were thriving even during the Depression because we were circulating the money within our communities. We were able to provide the goods and services for our communities. So when you see this dude saying how paying reparations would basically be bad for us, it's cap. It's showing you the fear that they have. See, they have a fear of us having leverage and being able to compete on a more even playing field. Us having generational wealth and economic stability is a threat to them. Listen to what this dude is saying.
But in this case, it's going to stoke racial tensions. It's going to stoke racial jealousy. One group being pitted against another group.
In other words, he's saying that white people are going to be upset, jealous, and they're going to want to get violent against us if we get this reparations.
I imagine that's going to increase violence. It's going to take care of it's going to.
He's basically saying, hey, it'd be in our best interest as black people not to give reparations because it never works out. You give people a lot of money, it doesn't work out generally. Then there's going to be violence. There's going to be people mad. They're going to be jealous. We can't do that because they know that they would be jealous. They would be intimidated because they know what we can do. They know what we'll do with it. This is why they go out of their way to prop other people up, even to the detriment of their own, of this country. They're giving the migrants all this money. They're sending money overseas, money that's not going to help in any kind of way in this country. They would rather do that than to give it to people who would actually put it to use to empower the country, because it would also empower us. And they understand if we get empowered, we're going to, just like anything else we compete in, we're going to take it to a level that they can't compete. And they know that that's coming. They know it.
Hurt the free market, you know, the housing costs, everything.
It's going to hurt the free market. Giving us reparations would hurt the free market, is what he's trying to convince us. He's trying to convince people that giving us money would hurt the free market. Why would us having money hurt the free market? No, what he's saying is that they would lose their dominance because we would be able to create and compete in different industries that they dominate.
Housing costs, everything is going to be turned upside down by this.
Everything's going to be turned upside down. The upside's going to be down. That's them. That's what he's saying. He's saying that everything will be upside down. We're up right now. They're going to turn us down. Imagine if they start creating vehicles again like the Pattersons did. Imagine if they start doing business with some of their extended family around the globe who have resources that they can turn into industries. And now they could lock up the whole jewelry, precious metal game. They can take some of that coltan and all that and make flat screen TVs and laptops and cell phones and get that industry popping. Seeing that cell phone development came from them anyway, along with internet, video games and shit. Imagine if they, us, were able to link up with this wealth from this that's owed to us. And then imagine if you know they got on code in Ghana and now we could do some business with the chocolate, the coffee, rubber, et cetera, produce. Yeah, now all of a sudden we don't have to rely on them. All of a sudden we're self-sufficient. Now all of a sudden it's not just a few of us that got some wealth. Now collectively families have generational wealth, and those of us who are codified will probably come together in communities and do things like buy towns. You know, they have towns for sale, right? If you look, you'll see there's towns for sale all over the country. There'll be this town that might be on sale for $500,000 or $1 million. Imagine we got some reparations and, you know what I'm saying, we might got a few $100,000, maybe $1 million each. And we collaborate in a group of 10 of us and we decide, you know what, let's go up on this town and buy this town. Let's get it popping. That's what they're afraid of. They don't want to compete with us. They would rather prop up foreigners as a buffer class than to give us what's ours. They, you know what I'm saying? They've had a head start for hundreds of years. Understand that when we couldn't, when they had laws against us buying homes, understand that home ownership is the most common form of generational wealth in this country. The idea that you can own a home that appreciates in values and you can hand that down generations. That's the head start. That's just a basic level of head start. Not to mention that the millions that were parlayed from our labor and turned into wealth that we didn't get a piece of, that we are owed. See, if we were compensated for the labor that we did, we would have generational wealth that we would have been handed down for generations now, meaning that we would more proportionately own large corporations and industries that would empower us globally. That's what was taken from us, and that's what we're demanding back. All the interventions that produced billions and hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars globally that were innovations that we created. Ice cream, potato chips, all the musics that we don't really control industry-wise. We created all the music. See, with the leverage from reparations, we can equalize all of that. That's what they fear. That's why we understand that there's going to be resistance in this movement, why we have to be relentless and why we have to be very particular with who represents us on the subject matters that are important for our growth, development, and progression. Anyway, you know what? I've been at this for a minute. It's been a minute since I went live. But I gotta shut this down. Like, all that good stuff. Subscribe. I'm gonna do another live maybe this weekend, maybe next week. I'm gonna try to get some participation. So comment and all that if you want to be, if you listen to this much of it, if you want to participate, let me know.
We outside in the field, second wind first kill. Homicide flashing, it's dark in the hills. We got shots in the hills in the water on you spill.
Research the data, find the truth. I kick rappers out the booth without no boots. They bust no guns, won't parachute. Yeah, bunch of sweet dudes, we call them fruits. Mama boys, this grown man PI, fitted on white tee, 501 Levi's. Still in the trenches with the team and the heaters. You better start weaving when we swing meat cleavers. They call me the butcher. What you want, center cut, somewhere in the cut, with a bitch in the guts. Dark bow guard, spit a dart so hard.